Imagine a family living underground for 9 years, completely cut off from the outside world. You won't believe what's about to be revealed, so stay tuned as we unravel the chilling mystery of the Dutch family that lived 9 years in a secret bunker hidden from the world.
The maniac, he is a cunning man. He knows just exactly what moves he's going to make.
Announcing today,
Tonight's shocking case takes place in Ruinerwold, a quaint village located in the province of Drenthe in the Netherlands. Let's take a look. For nearly a decade, this family lived in a distorted reality. The children aged between 18 and 25 and their father had lived on the farm since 2010 and had never had their births registered or been to school as required by Dutch law. Their mother died in 2004 and 3 more older siblings had left the family before they went into seclusion. 2 of them have now come forward with accusations of sexual abuse when they were young teenagers. The 6 youngest children were kept in seclusion since birth and separated from their older siblings. A 15-year-old daughter was moved to another town, while a 12-year-old son was forced to live alone in a caravan. Gerrit Jan Van D told the children the death of their mother in 2004 was their fault for having contact with the outside world. They were raised to believe they were the last survivors on Earth. They had no friends and no concept of what a normal life looked like, and were only allowed into the garden very infrequently. Their entire understanding of the world came from their father's stories, which mentally trapped them as much as their physical isolation. The children were abused, denied food, and often beaten to supposedly drive out bad spirits, made to pray for days on end, strangled until they thought they were dead, and forced to take ice baths for hours. One child said he always paced up and down the room and he could scream very loudly and look very angry, and sometimes he would scream in your face. One child also claimed to have spent an entire summer living in a dog kennel when he was just 13, after his dad told him he was evil. Gerrit Jan Van D is alleged to have sexually assaulted some of his children. To justify sexual acts with them, Gerrit Jan Van D told the children a female spirit, the spirit of their mother or another spiritual wife, had entered their bodies, and it was therefore appropriate for him to have sexual relations with them. The allegations by the children were confirmed by diaries written by Gerrit Jan Van D, seized during a search of the farmhouse. The farmhouse where the family lived was located in a rural area far from major cities. Surrounded by fields, it was rented out by a man named Joseph B., who played a mysterious role in this entire story. While the village was itself small and close-knit, this farmhouse was remote enough that the family could stay under the radar. But here's where things get even stranger. Despite being so isolated, the family wasn't completely invisible. Joseph B. would occasionally visit the nearby town, buy supplies and pay the rent. This raises a question. Did Joseph know what was really going on, or was he under the father's control just like the children? But this decade-long stretch of unthinkable abuse came to an end in October 2019 when the eldest child, Gerrit Jan Van D, walked into a local bar in a confused state and raised the alarm. He shared his unbelievable story with the bar owner, Chris Westerbrink. He said that he and his family had not left home for 9 years and had been waiting for the end of the world. Speaking out on the bizarre experience, Chris Westerbrink said, "He looked odd in baggy clothes that appeared years out of date, and there was something unearthly about him that worried me. He struggled to communicate, but he looked so desperate I knew I had to help him. Now I thank God I did." Sensing something was wrong, he called the police. What the authorities discovered was shocking. They found the rest of the family still living in the bunker, malnourished and pale from lack of sunlight. The father had brainwashed them into believing the outside world was very dangerous. In a bunker on the farmhouse, the police found a family consisting of a father and his 6 children, who had been living there for 9 years, completely cut off from society. They were isolated, living in a hidden bunker with no communication with the outside world. But how did it get to this point? It all started with the father, a man who became obsessed with the idea that the world was on the verge of collapse. He believed that an apocalypse was imminent, and in his paranoia he decided to prepare for the worst. He rented a farmhouse far from prying eyes in the countryside and constructed a hidden bunker underneath it. Without telling anyone, he moved his family underground. No one in the nearby village knew this family even existed. This wasn't just a few months of isolation, it was nearly a decade. The father's extreme survivalist mentality and fear of society made him believe that the only way to protect his family was by cutting them off from the world entirely. But what impact does that have on the children? These children were raised believing they were the last survivors on Earth, that the rest of humanity had been wiped out. Think about that for a second. From the day they were born, they were told that no one else existed. The children didn't go to school, they didn't have friends, and they had no idea what a normal life looked like. In fact, they didn't even know what normal meant. The entire reality was shaped by the stories their father told them. These children had no concept of basic social interaction, no idea how to communicate with people outside of their small world. They were trapped in a distorted version of reality. The father was arrested and his motivations became the focus of an investigation. His extreme paranoia created a nightmare that lasted nearly a decade. After the rescue, the children were placed in specialized care, where they began the slow process of learning what it means to live in the real world. Imagine growing up without any knowledge of modern life, without ever seeing a smartphone, television, or even knowing what school is. These children have to grapple with the trauma of realizing that their entire worldview was a lie. How do you come to terms with that? How do you rebuild trust in people and the world after being told for years that everything outside your door is dangerous and evil? The court case against both men would cause a divide between the 5 younger and 4 older children, as the younger kids did not agree with their version of events, and they still held the same faith as their father. Court ruling would be on the 4th of March 2021, where Gerrit Jan Van D would be acquitted on all counts because of his condition after having suffered a stroke in 2016. He was found to be unable to effectively participate in the case against him, unable to decide on the approach with his lawyer, unable to sufficiently understand the procedural documents, and unable to voice his version of events, which meant the defense would have been insufficient for the Dutch court of law and any conviction would not be legally valid. After being acquitted, he returned to the farm to live there with the 5 youngest of his children by their and his request. But in the end, the oldest of the children living with him turned on him, and he would be forced to live in a closed institution for at least 1.5 years. For some reason, Gerrit Jan Van D would file a court case of his own, demanding compensation of up to an amount of 50,000 as he was kept in police custody for too long. When the reason he was kept in custody was found to be to determine if he was fit to stand trial, which is why he was also acquitted, he would receive nothing. In the case against Joseph B. on the 14th of June 2022, he would receive 3 years of prison time for deprivation of liberty and would be acquitted of the abuse charges. All the children are fine and the older children have continued their lives. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please hit the like and subscribe button so that you don't miss an episode. I really appreciate your support. Until next time, take care and stay safe.